All right, we're good.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'd like to call the Appropriations Committee meeting public hearing to order. Today we're going to hear about the Senate Resolution 14 and House Resolution 16. And we will start it in a moment. I just want to give a little housekeeping. The person who is saying Claudio is not Claudio, he is Thomas Austin, and he will be presenting for OPM today as the Principal Labor Relations Specialist. But before I do that, I'll ask my co-chair if she has anything to say.
I just want to say happy spring day, and I hope you're all enjoying the weather. And I'm happy it's sunny outside, and I don't care how warm it is or how cold it is. It's sunny, and we can all enjoy the day together today.
We're all together. That's nice. Let me see. Senator Minor, good morning. Would you like to say something?
Good morning, Madam Chair. It is a beautiful day, and I look forward to a wonderful public hearing and meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. Is Representative France on?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yes,
Morning.
thank you, and welcome everybody, and looking forward to the discussion on the before us. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to start. I'd like to let everybody know first we're going to have the presentation by OPM. Then we'll have SEIU 1199 presentation, and then after that we'll go to public speakers. So with that, I would like to ask Thomas Austin to please begin. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Chairman Austin Walker, Vice Chairs Hartley, Dathan, and Nolan, and ranking members Minor and France, and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Thomas Austin. I'm a Principal Labor Relations Specialist for the Office of Labor Relations within the Office of Policy and Management. Let me first say that the personal care attendants that we're speaking about today, while not state employees are authorized to bargain collectively pursuant to section 17-706B, A and B of the general statutes. And that's what brings us here today. On April 11th of 2002, after over a year of negotiations, the Personal Care Attendant Workforce Council and the New England Healthcare Employees Union District 1199, SEIU, entered into 6 tentative agreements dealing with anti-discrimination language update, wages, personal time off or PTO, training and orientation, and premium assistance for the PCAs. These agreements cover a duration of 2 years, July 1, 2021 through June 30th of 2023, which commences, the July 1 date commences at the end of the last agreement and becomes the successor agreement of the previous contract. This agreement covers approximately 14,900 PCAs and approximately 7,300 consumers of Connecticut Medicaid self-directed programs. The successor agreement supports the state's goal to shift from an over-reliance on nursing facility and other institutional care to providing more options to people to receive services in their home and community, as rebalancing efforts such as the continued implementation of Money Flows the Person and the Community First Choice program to achieve success, and more people are receiving support in their own homes, the need for a stable and well-trained home care workforce has increased. From state fiscal year 2020 to fiscal year 2021, the percentage of individuals receiving Medicaid long-term care services in the community versus an institution increased by 8%. 70% of the Medicaid clients were served in the community, and 30% of the Medicaid clients, which averages approximately 13,663, received care in an institution. Since fiscal year 2003, the percentage of Medicaid clients receiving care in the community has increased by 52%, from 46% in state fiscal year 2003 to 70% in state fiscal year 2021. In state fiscal year 2021, Medicaid long-term care expenditures for individuals in the community versus an institution increased by 11% from fiscal year 2020. Of the long-term care expenditures for individuals enrolled in Medicaid, 60% were for services provided in the community, while 40% were for institutional care. Since fiscal year 2003, the percentage of Medicaid long-term care expenditures for home and community-based care has increased by 94%, from 31% in fiscal year 03 to 60% in fiscal year 2021. Many individuals receiving long-term services and support, sometimes referred to as LTSS, in the community through public programs such as Medicaid waivers, have the option to receive their support services through a home care agency or to serve as an employer and self-direct their services, allowing consumers the ultimate dignity of choice and control to hire, train, and direct the tasks of and schedule of their own staff. The below summary of the tentative agreements put forward for your consideration today support the state's long-range rebalancing goals and maintain Medicaid consumer, employer, and autonomy and rights while providing a fair and robust compensation package for the workers they employ. As to the Pca Workforce Council, the Pca Workforce Council was established in 2012 pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 17B-706A to represent the interests of the state and the Pca employers. The council and the Office of Policy and Management's Office of Labor Relations negotiates and administers the Pca collective bargaining agreement, while the union represents the PCAs. 1199 SEIU is the representative in this agreement for the PCAs. Members of the council are appointed by the governor, the commissioners of the Departments of Social Services and Developmental Services, and the state healthcare advocate, and leaders of the General Assembly. The Pca Workforce Council receives administrative support from the Office of Policy and Management. And in my prepared testimony, there is a site if the members wish further information regarding the Pca Workforce Council. As to the wages that are contained in the temporary agreement that's been presented, the negotiated wage increases commence on legislative and upon Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services approval. Upon such approval, the minimum rate paid to all hourly wage earners covered by this agreement increase by $1 per hour. Additionally, the various categories of covered workers receive the following additional wage increases. PCAs covered by the contract will see an increase from $16.25 to $17.25 upon legislative and CMS approval. Then there are followed two more increases in state fiscal year 2023. At the end, the minimum PCA hourly rate will have reached $18.25 on January 1, 2023. Two wage increases in the minimum hourly rates for hourly adult respite companion workers also increased 3 times over the course of the contract, from $15.30 to $16.30 upon the legislative and CMS approval, and culminating in a minimum rate of $17.25 on January 1, 2023. And independent living skills training workers, or ILSTs, increased from $34.20 a day to $34.20 to $35.20 upon the legislative approval, and to $35.90 after a 2% general wage increase is applied on July 1, 2022. Included as well under the wages are two general wage increases for the various other component titles of PCAs, in particular per diems, and the aforementioned hourly wage workers already earning above new minimum hourly rates. The GWIs are provided upon legislative and CMS approval, and again on July 1, 2022, are 2% each for hourly wage workers and 4% each for per diems. The removal of the cap on worker wages that was lifted as a provision of the prior agreement that expired on July 30th, 21, remains in effect under this successor agreement. Additionally, the wage agreement calls for lump sums to be paid to PCAs who are currently employed and actively working for a consumer employer and covered by this agreement. The lump sum to be paid will be the equivalent of 6% of wages earned during the period commencing July 1, 2021 and ending March 31, 2022. To be eligible for the lump sum payment, a PCA must be employed and actively working for a consumer employer on the date the payment is issued. As to the premium assistance tentative agreement, the premium assistance agreement is new to the PCA collective bargaining agreement. If approved by both the legislature and CMS, PCAs who've been employed and actively working for an individual consumer employer during the prior 6-month period and who provide proof of denial for Husky and the covered Connecticut programs and can attest to not having access to any alternate employment or spousal coverage, health coverage, are eligible to receive an amount equal to 6% of their pay as calculated per individual consumer employer on a semi-annual basis, up to a maximum of $5,000 for premium assistance. This will be paid on a prepaid card that can be used to cover healthcare premiums, or if after paying premiums, out-of-pocket medical costs or other expenses incurred by the PCA worker. The training fund, finally, the tentative agreement dealing with PCA training and orientation calls for $300,000 to be allocated to the training and orientation fund upon legislative and CMS approval. Effective July 1, 2022, and every July 1 thereafter, $750,000 shall be allocated to the fund, of which $150,000 must be utilized for skills enhancement training. This agreement further requires that any unobligated balance at the end of the state fiscal year shall revert to the state's general fund. I hope members of the Appropriations Committee that, while short, it gives you a snapshot of the tentative agreements reached with 1199. And we are prepared to respond to any questions that the Appropriations Committee may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. Thank you for your presentation. Are any of the other members of your team going to make any statements, or are you the spokesperson for your group?
I don't think they're going to be making a statement, but they are here and prepared to respond to individualized questions that fall within their specialty. And
Okay.
we would be happy to respond when necessary. And thank you for the time.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to ask Deidre Murch from 1199 to make her statements, please. Deidre. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. So we work
Wait,
on,
just 1 second. I'm just going to ask everybody to please mute your microphone until Deidre has finished her presentation. Thank you.
great. I'm going to keep mine very short and then open for questions. We worked very hard to reach this agreement. We negotiated for nearly 18 months. We believe that this is, we've reached a fair compromise, and you heard many of the things that Tom outlined. And we thank you all for taking this up today, and I'll open there for questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Brevity is always good. Thank you. All right, let's go right to the questions. I just want to ask one question of Mr. Austin. I forgot when you spoke, you mentioned money flows of the person? Has that changed, or is it still money follows the person? You're muted. You're muted, sir.
Money follows the person, man.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just wasn't, because we've been rebranding different things, and I just want to make sure that we had the right statement of what we're talking about.
I appreciate that. And my apologies if I was
No
inarticulate.
problem. It's Wednesday and it's early in the morning. Senator Austin.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And first, Mr. Austin, I like your last name. It's almost, my name is often confused with yours. So I always think that that's just interesting. As a matter of fact, I got an email that said you were going to be speaking and someone had spelled it just like my name. And I said, huh, that's never happened before. But I actually want to say that I think that your presentation was exactly what we needed to hear today. It had the data in it that I think is appropriate for us to understand. And I also think that this is really has been the state's and the Appropriations Committee's path forward is to increase care amongst people who can choose to stay home, and without PCAs and the personal care attendants that are out there, we would not be able to accomplish this goal of allowing people to stay home. In particular, I love the data that showed the number of clients that were choosing to stay home.
Why that is on your end.
Excuse me. Thank you. Go right ahead. Sorry, Senator.
That's all right. I believe that you have submitted your testimony in writing, because I think it's going to be very much appropriate for all of us to take that data, the percentage of the number of people that are not in nursing homes today, the percentage of the number of people that are choosing to stay home, and the percentage of the clients that are able to take use of the men and women who choose to do this profession is really very helpful, not only because it's better care and it gives a certain amount of respect to the people of choosing their own. It's also better policy, and it's better fiscal policy. If you looked at if you didn't care about the actual care part, the fact that this saves us and the state real dollars is important to bring out also. So I just wanted to thank you for what you had. I plan on using all of that information in my talks around the state. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Representative France.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my first question deals with, in the OFA report, there was a section that talked about a reopener required between September 1st and October 1st of 2022 with an unknown fiscal impact. But when I read the PCA agreement, in Article 22, it states they'll commence bargaining a successor agreement, which seems to imply it would be a follow-on agreement at the expiration of, if this one is approved at the end of this one. I wonder if somebody could clarify that statement.
Certainly, sir. This is a 2-year agreement. You typically, and I know the agreements of the various state bargaining units that were presented to the Appropriations Committee, I think last week or the week before, were to be 4-year agreements with a final wage reopener in the 4th year. This is in totality a 2-year agreement. And we use the language from the prior agreement, just changing the dates, and it outlines those September to October dates of when notice to request bargaining for the successor agreement on the agreement that's before you today. The 2-year agreement was chosen by and large because of the question of federal sustainability of funds. And at the time, Secretary McCaw, it was unclear of what the state could be looking forward to from federal funding in the final 2 years. We knew what the federal funding, I think, or we were comfortable with what the federal funding would be for the first and second year of the agreement through ARPA funds and so forth, but unclear as to what we would be receiving as a state from the feds, and thought it best to ask for a 2-year agreement because of the sustainability and being unclear of what those funds would be. So if that gives you a slight explanation of why the contract ends in June of 2023, it really is not a reopener. It's a conclusion of the contract that requires negotiations to begin. And over the summer, I'm assuming we will get a request to commence bargaining on a new successor agreement from 1199. I hope that responds to your question, Representative France.
Representative France?
Thank you for that. It does. And so to be clear, it's not technically a reopener. It is just a notice within the agreement that the negotiation of the follow-on contract, which would begin at the expiration of this contract, is to begin within that specified period of basically September 2022.
Correct. It gives notice to the parties that that's when it could begin. It's not a reopener. It just anticipates the contract concluding in the succeeding year. And as we have seen, as Deidre Mertz mentioned, we were negotiating for well over a year on this one, long after the expiration of this agreement.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. The second question deals with the Training Orientation Fund. I note that there's an agreement of $300,000 for effective May 1st, which really leaves two months to expend $300,000 and then follow on $750,000 per year annually thereafter, with $150,000 allocated specifically for skills enhancement, and remaining $600,000 undesignated. So if you could clarify first, how is that $300,000 going to be spent in 2 months? And if not spent, what happens to it? And then secondly, what is the $600,000 delta between the maximum training and orientation fund and the specified skills enhancement portion planned to be used for?
Primarily, if I can deal with the larger number first, the 600,000 is dealt with onboarding new PCAs, training. PCAs receive a stipend to attend the training, and that's going on throughout the year. The 750,000, we look back at what the expenses were in training, and we believe we're very close to almost on the money of what has been spent in the past for that program of training new PCAs and keeping them up to speed, along with the stipends that they receive, and obviously also paying the trainers that handle the training for the PCAs. The $150,000 is designated for skills enhancement, and what we thought was a change in the prior contract, that all monies unallocated or unobligated at the end of the contract, of the fiscal year, in essence, gets returned to the state, not at the end of the contract, which you typically see for specialized fund training in various state contracts for skills enhancement, college degrees, and so forth. It sometimes rolls over to the next contract or until the contract expires. This concludes at the end of each fiscal year. What we're going to do with the 300,000 gives us a buffer to take care of what's been going on during the next couple of months in terms of training and so forth, that we have funds available to bring new people on, train them, and also pay the trainees. I believe at the conclusion, at the end of this year, fiscal year, June 30th, you will see if monies aren't spent or and are unobligated in terms of bills having been, we anticipate bills being presented for services given to us during that fiscal year. Monies could end up being returned to the state fund.
Representative France is.
Thank you for that answer. And just so to be clear, part of that 600,000 difference between the undesignated portion is to help pay for stipends as well as the general training. If you can just confirm that. And then secondly, does the 300,000 imply, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there's a backlog in required training currently that is the reason for this substantial amount to try and catch up? Is that part of the reason for it for the current fiscal year?
Representative France, as to the first part of your question, you are correct. The 600,000 is to maintain training and the stipends for the PCAs to attend and the cost of training. You were correct in how you described that. In terms of the 300,000, I'm not sure we're catching up. We were unclear during the course of negotiations when we would come to a tentative agreement. We had been at this for so long. We arrived at language, and knowing that if monies are unused and unobligated, it would be returned. We wanted to make sure there was sufficient funding to cover whatever had to be done until the end of the fiscal year. It was an unknown of when we would come to an agreement. We were all keeping our fingers crossed that we could come to an agreement, and it was done so. You see the date we signed these tentative agreements long after.
Hello, Representative France. If I could also just add.
Excuse me, sir, who are you?
Thank you. Claudio Gualtieri for OPM, also joining, and I'm here as the chair of the Workforce Council. And as you heard from Tom Austin's testimony, the Workforce Council represents about 7,300 consumer employers in this program. I just want to clarify that the amount of funding that actually went into the training fund for FY22 was only 300. So this second 300 is meant to be bringing it up to 600,000 and making that fund whole for FY22. The successor agreement had allowed for a continuation to provide for 300,000. So we felt we needed the other 300,000. So that we're at that benchmark 600,000, which has been historical spending for those mandatory volunteer trainings and making sure that the PCAs have the skill sets to be able to take on this endeavor and work with their consumer employers. I hope that also adds some commentary to your question.
Okay. Representative France, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Representative Datham.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I had some computer problems, and I think I heard most of Representative France's question on the reopener. But I just wanted to clarify, because that was also my question. So for the avoidance of doubt, the reopener could also adjust the period from September on, in theory,
No.
if you're reopening a contract. I heard you say it was a 3-year contract, but what would preclude us from having another agreement in the reopener phase that would take away from this contract?
Let me clarify something. It's not a 3-year contract, it's a 2-year contract. And the Office of Fiscal Analysis, I think, mistakenly referred to the dates contained in the contract for under the category or article duration as a reopener. That's a misnomer. That just gives notice to the parties of when they can commence notifying one another of intent to start bargaining. There's no reopener, but if you look under the various statutes dealing with collective bargaining, there's a timeline statutory as to when things can occur. This sort of gives a date because it does. PCAs don't fall under the statutes that deal with state employees. The PCAs have their own set of statutes, and we try to, as in the last agreement, detail when notice can be given and the parties can be aware of, to be prepared to start bargaining once notice has come in. Now, real bargaining begins once you establish ground rules, et cetera, but that's the earliest point that either the Workforce Council or the 1199 could request that bargaining commence for the successor agreement of this. It's strictly a 2-year agreement. I think
Okay.
in the OFA question at Q&A, there was a mistake. There was a chart provided to you people that had a 3rd year.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the 3rd year does not exist under this contract.
Okay, that's where one of my confusion is. Second, do you have any sort of comparable wage analysis between the private sector and the public sector for these type of employees?
I'm not aware of an analysis with regards to private sector other than agreements were recently concluded with nursing homes and so forth that certainly was in the press. There was some analysis done with various states that use the PCAs and have a self-directed program. We looked at Washington, Oregon, Illinois, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Minnesota. That data was readily available. And as we proceed, I'm sorry. And we can provide that to you. In fact, I think we have on our for the Workforce Council, Melissa Morton, who I will say is our number guru, and I want to applaud her efforts with regards to the opening statement that Chairwoman Austin was complimentary of. I wish I could take full credit for that. It was a team effort, and the team was led by Melissa in gathering that data. And I want to compliment her for providing that to me. I can't take credit for something like that, but she can provide you numbers in terms of comparables and what was occurring outside the state of Connecticut. I believe she can also speak with regard to the nursing homes that are available.
Representative Dathan, I actually can tell you some comps to some
that would be great.
positions in the private sector. And I can give you just a real quick and dirty number if that would be helpful.
That would be perfect.
And email the rest to you. In looking at Connecticut Department of Labor wage data, we were able to look at the 2020 data for personal care attendants and home health aides that they have collected both on a state level and a national level. And what we found is that we are highly competitive under this contract. The annual salary for home health aides and personal care aides, according to Connecticut DOL, is $28,000 a year, with the average hourly rate being $13.62. This is compared to the national average for these job classifications, which reflect an average annual salary of $27,080 and $13.02 per hour. PCAs covered under the contract that just expired, if we were to compare 2020 to 2020, PCAs were earning $16.25 an hour compared to the average private sector comparable positions who were receiving $13.62 an hour. So we were coming up around $3 above the private industry hourly rate, according to DOL. And under this contract, they will be moving up further to $18.25 an hour. And when we look at our sister state in Massachusetts, who has a similar contract, just to give you a sense of where we are nationally, Massachusetts, under their last contract, and I believe they're in labor negotiations now, they're paying around $15.40 per hour. And Washington State, which is considered one of the most generous states, they have a range of $16.85 an hour to $19.21 an hour for PCAs in 2021. And so I'm more than happy to email that data, but hopefully it gives you.
That's helpful. We should also remember that 2020 data for the private sector would also have effects of the wage increase with the $15 an hour minimum wage. So we have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples there. Madam Chair, can I ask one more question?
Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you so much. The other question I wanted to know is how many, I saw that we have about 14,000 employees that are included in this right now. How many openings are there? And do you feel that with this contract that we're going to be able to recruit and most importantly, maintain these workers, because these are very essential workers. They build relationships with the people that they care for. And these people really need to have consistent care. And so one of my concerns with this agreement is that we are addressing that issue. Thank you, Madam Chair, through you.
Madam Chair, I would respond to this fashion and ask that, again, Melissa jump in. But the numbers that you see and that I reported in my testimony of 14,900 PCAs, that is a breadth of PCAs during the year 2021, whether one person worked one day or someone who works a full-time schedule. It took into account anyone who was reporting time to what is commonly referred to as an FI or a fiscal intermediary. With regards to the particulars on those and drilling down, as the phrase is, on that, I would turn again to Melissa Morton, part of our team, who, as I said, is the numbers guru, to be able to offer you some insight farther than my skill set provides.
Okay.
Melissa, is there something you can provide to the panel?
Thank you.
Sure. Although what is unique about this population makes it difficult to answer questions such as, how many job openings are there? What is the exact demand? Is that we are dealing with 7,300 unique and individual employers. So we don't always know exactly who's still looking for workers. Are people fully staffed up? So that's a question we've been asking all through negotiations is, what really is the need? How many more people do we need in this workforce to fill the hole? So that's an area of research that we're going to be looking at going forward over the next year as we prepare for the next round of negotiations, is how can we put our finger on that? One thing that was most challenging for us, because you would think we could look at unused hours, right? If somebody has a bank of hours where they could hire a PCA and they're not using those hours, that could be an indicator. But during the pandemic, we found many people choosing to limit the number of people coming into their homes. So they were not using as many workers, and that affects that number. So that was an excellent point and something we definitely need to research further. What I can tell you about that 14,900 number is that, as Attorney Austin points out, that's every PCA, unique individual PCA who worked over the course of a year. That's not the number of PCAs on payroll at any given time. So when we are talking about how many people are we paying in any given time, how many people are employed, it's more around 10,000. PCAs come and go. And so just to give you a sense of how many people we have on payroll at any given time, I would say we're looking at around 8,800 to 10,000 workers actively employed and working for a consumer employer in any given pay period.
That's helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And Mr. Austin, thank you for going over the memorandum of agreement. I just have a very brief question just for enlightenment. Is there a limit on how many hours a PCA can work? That's one. And then I noticed, and if you could explain the sleeper assignments and how that is determined, the rate and how those assignments are made, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the limit on hours is, I'm sorry, is based on the care plan of what a PCA is authorized to work. Many PCAs work for several consumer employers, not just one. So they may work 10 hours for one and 25 hours for another. They can work over 40 hours. But it depends on the care plan because there's a budget involved. When Medicaid sets up these budgets, there's different categories within the budget for different aspects of their care plan. I hope that responds to the first part of your question, Representative McCarty. Can you, again, with the second part, I honestly, I was caught up thinking of how I was going to respond to the first part.
No, that does help, and because there's many consumers that could be involved. I just also was curious about the establishment of the sleeping assignments and how it's determined the rate that would be received. Thank you.
I'm going to let Melissa respond to the actual sleeping assignments, but those are usually overnight assignments. But Melissa, if you have further details that you can provide the representative.
Certainly. So we have certain workers that are, again, according to individual care plans, they may need a PCA to be in their home with them overnight. However, they don't have to stay up all night. Their consumer employer may be sleeping most of that time, and they're allowed to sleep as well. So the way a sleeper rate works is they get paid the minimum wage while they are sleeping, but at any moment, should they need to wake and provide their PCA services, actually be up and working, they then get paid the hourly rate, the $18.25 in this case under the new contract is what they would get paid for their time working. And so they have a sleeper rate on their timesheet and they have their working rate on their timesheet.
Thank you very much for that explanation. That helps. And I just know how truly valuable the work of the PCAs are. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Harris. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you. Under this agreement, they get some lump sum bonuses. Do we know what the average lump sum bonus would be to a PCA, and the highest bonus or the smallest bonus?
The bonus is going to be based on a look back period that's outlined in the tentative agreement, going back 6 months and a percentage of that time. I don't have the data that could tell you what the maximum, any particular PCA working the maximum 40 hours. We're finding that most PA, and I'll allow Melissa to correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is most PCAs are working in the average of 20, maybe 25 hours. That would indicate what their lump sum payment would be. It also would come into the calculation under the premium assistance during, depending on the hours that they've worked. So I don't know if Melissa has any further data that she can share with you, Representative Harrison, on that question as to any averages that could be possibly used, and then to extrapolate what the lump sum payment would be. Melissa?
Yeah, I can certainly get that for you by taking the number of hours that somebody works and applying it to the $16.25 that they earn now. We didn't do that this time. What we did was we were trying to come up with what the total cost would be under the contract. So we took everybody who worked from April 1st through March 31st of 2021, the wages, and then applied the 6%. It's not multiple bonuses. It's one 6% lump sum payment that is paid out based on wages worked the prior year. So we didn't look to see what a range would be. I can certainly get that for you and send it to you shortly.
Thank you very much. So that leads to a second question, if I'm to understand your response correctly. Are most of these PCAs then part-time workers as opposed to full-time workers?
So, yes, to answer your question, according to our wage and timesheet data that we get from the fiscal intermediaries, most of them are part-time workers working under 30 hours a week. However, one thing that's important to note is that when we're pulling that data, we aren't catching, unless we do a cross match of worker social security numbers to see many of these workers might work for multiple employers. So although they might be part-time for one consumer employer, they might be part-time for multiple consumer employers. So they might be working 20 hours for me and 20 hours for my next door neighbor. So so they're working 40 hours a week, but it's a part-time job. It would be like if I worked 20 hours a week at Target and I work 20 hours a week at Walmart. You know, I'm working 40 hours a week, but for two different employers. And that's how it works here.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Representative Belinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say thank you for the clarification about how many PCAs are covered by this agreement, and the fact that they're serving 7,000 or 8,000 clients around the state. Do we also know from a competitive standpoint, we know the wage rates of bargained PCAs, but do we know how many of them are out there working in a private setting, and the number of clients that are served in general? Because I think a lot of us can sort of agree that this is a tremendously important job that has a lot to do with the ability of seniors and people with disabilities to age or live in their own community. So I'm just sort of curious, what the bigger picture is and what the portion of that is covered under this contract. And then how do we make sure that we don't leave behind others that are living at barely subsistent wages, doing equivalent work? So a long question, but do we know what the other part of this industry looks like?
Representative, I don't have particular numbers with regards to outside PCAs in the private sector. Many have worked for agencies that provide in-home assistance outside the Medicaid area. So it'd be difficult, I think, for us to obtain that type of data. Also, if you work for an agency, you may also be obtaining different types of benefits that may go along with your wage. So it might be comparing apples and oranges. If an agency is providing a health plan or other types of benefits, their wage may be lower, but they're getting the benefits, where in the self-directed area, up until this contract, it was strictly an hourly wage. Now we've added new to the contract, different component parts that offer benefits to the PCAs in terms of paid time off, which was never enjoyed in the past, assistance to healthcare premiums, which is new again to the contract. So that while per se we're not offering a healthcare plan, we are offering different assistance. And knowing with Covered Connecticut coming online, we believe that the vast, if not just about every PCA, will have the ability to obtain very good health care, either through the Husky program or through Covered Connecticut. That will come on board, I believe, on July 1 of this year. And both plans offer sound and, as we've used the term, robust medical care and programs that may, for some, not require even a premium because they will qualify. And if there is a premium, we're now offering assistance to pay for that premium.
Thank you very much. I do understand the apples and oranges part of it, but at some point we'll figure out where parity might exist. I have another question, if I might, Madam Chair. I'm always looking for things that appear to be dangling bits of money, and in this contract, I see that we ramp up spending for training and orientation to $750,000 a year, but there's an interesting clause in there that only requires 150,000 of that be applied to training and orientation. So my question is, where's the other $600,000 going, and who's watching the who's watching it?
If I may address that, Representative.
Yes, yes.
The 150,000 is designated for skills enhancement for the PCAs. That's outside the 600,000. The 600,000 has been an ongoing process where we need to train PCAs that are coming into the workforce for our consumer employers. The 600,000 covers the training, the stipend that's paid to the PCA for attending the training, and also covers the cost of the trainers and the requisite expenses that go along with that. The 600,000 has been consistent in the past few years. There was 300,000 left over from the prior contract, and we're adding 300,000 as is indicated for this up until July 1 of this year. But skills enhancement is a totally different animal than training for onboarding PCAs. A skills enhancement is to enhance, is exactly what it says. It's right. Enhancing the skills. We had long-term negotiations over what skills enhancement would be. It got very, it came down to clear-cut definitions and so forth, and we thought it best to leave it at skills enhancement, keeping in mind there is a committee that's made up of Workforce Council and 1199, and Melissa is well-versed and has dealt with this on an ongoing basis. And Melissa, if you could just impart to the representative as to his question on that skills enhancement training.
Sure. Thank you for your question, Representative Blinsky. I'll be very brief, just to say that the majority of funding that goes to training and orientation is used for onboarding new personal care attendants. They are required to go through an orientation to their new position within their first 90 days of hire. That orientation is provided by the 1199 Training and Upgrading Fund. And so the money goes to not only cover the cost of that orientation, but also to pay the stipends that personal care attendants get paid for their time for going through the 3-hour new hire orientation to make sure that they start their jobs off on the right foot, that they have a good foundation for doing this new line of work. Your question about oversight of the funds is an excellent one. So there is something in the collective bargaining agreement it was in the original agreement, and it remains in the successor agreement that establishes something that we call the Training Fund Committee. It's a committee that is made up of 5 members of the PCA Workforce Council and 5 members of 1199. So the union members and the required staff from both parties. And we look at that total budget of $750,000. In the past contract, it was $600,000. It is now $750,000 a year. And we sit as a committee and decide how that money should be spent, and develop the budget for the, in cooperation with the 1199 Training and Upgrading Fund, develop a budget for how to utilize those training fund dollars in the most effective way that best supports consumer employers, make sure their staffs are being trained in the way consumer employers want, and also on the union side to make sure that we're providing skills enhancement training that allows for growth and enhancement of their skills and possible career laddering. The only difference here from the last contract where we had $600,000 is that here we're actually designating, saying $150,000 of these funds must be used for skills enhancement. It can't, so even if our population grows, the number of PCAs that have to be trained and onboarded, we have to designate $150,000 of those funds in our annual budgeting to make sure we are providing that voluntary skills enhancement training for PCAs that want to enhance their skills. We've offered CPR, for example, training through that funds of that type. So I just want you to know there is an oversight through the collective bargaining agreement. There is an oversight committee that looks at the budget and tracks the dollars.
Okay, thank you. That's just a quick little follow-up. If there's carryover, what happens to that carryover? Does it have a way of finding its way back into the general fund for other programs?
Sure. So that's a great question. So under our previous 2 contracts, the funds would carry over year to year to year. And it was cumbersome, and we wanted to make sure that funds were going underutilized, and we wanted to incentivize the full utilization of funding that was received and make sure that because training is a great thing and we want those funding dollars to be used. However, should for any reason funds not be used under the new contract, a new provision we put in is that any unused balance does revert back to the state general fund.
Great. Thank you very much, Melissa. And thank you, Tom. And thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging my questions. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. At this point, I want to thank both Melissa and Thompson. Ask you just to stay until the public hearing is complete for the last members of this public hearing. Representative France.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one follow-up question related to premium assistance. We touched on it briefly, but a couple of specific questions. And in the OFA agreement says it's equal to 6% of salary for those that qualify with a cap of $5,000 annually. And in reviewing the agreement, since this is a new section, it wasn't previously in the agreement, we could get a brief overview, but also dealing specifically with the requirements. It states proof of denial of Husky and the Cover Connecticut program is an entry qualifier for this. But I don't note that after the initial 6-month and then for the follow-on successive 6-month periods, is there a requirement for the employee to recertify that they still are not eligible and still qualify for these payments? And how is that process going to be managed since this is a new agreement between with the PCAs?
Representative France, I think that it's implicit to qualify. You have to either present certain letters of denial, attest that you are not subject to maybe a spousal's healthcare program provided by their employer, and that I think every semi-annually that would have to be produced as opposed to just on a one-time basis. Things change, and people's lives are fluid, but we're talking substantial sums of money that want to make sure are used for the purpose that the article was intended. And in order to qualify for the next go round, I believe the same thing would have to be true. I don't think the supplying of the information is that onerous. Some will be just submitting the same attestation. I don't have this, I'm not privy to any other healthcare program. But what will have to be looked back at is the number of hours they worked in the next succeeding look back period in order to determine what the assistance would be on the card. That would be an ongoing basis. It wouldn't be based on the first 6 months. It would be ongoing. Someone may be working more hours and develop an increase in their assistance on that particular program, that we would be providing a card that would be recharged, so to speak, during that period of time.
Representative Grant?
Thank you for that. Just one follow-up. It's very specific in the initial payment, but the subsequent payments doesn't have that requirement. While I appreciate that's the intent, we all know that contracts or agreements matter with what they say. And I guess is the intent that the employees would need to apply again within that 6-month period for coverage under Husky and coverage CT and receive another denial, or would the initial denial suffice? And if so, for how long would that initial denial be applicable to qualify for this premium assistance?
Representative, I would first of all point out this, while it's a 2-year agreement, essentially the premium assistance covers just 1 year. So we're talking, two semi-annuals. Certainly if someone qualifies for CT, covered CT or Husky, that may not change. And the fact that they're covered, I think, is what we're looking for to make sure that they are being covered before we give out money. And I think that's a simple solution. If they're denied coverage, the submission of a letter is certainly not onerous as well. Your point is well taken, though, Representative. In going forward, we were looking at the impact for the 1-year period because the contract expires at the end of next year. And I appreciate your question. It was an excellent question. And it will be addressed in the next contract, just based on your question. And I appreciate the thought that went into it. But it was our anticipation that if you're continued to be covered, fantastic. If you're denied, submit the denial letter and the attestation that you're not covered, none of which is that onerous. It's then up to the fiscal intermediaries to give us a calculation as to what benefit you'd be receiving.
Representative France?
Thank you. And I wasn't trying to imply it was onerous. I'm more looking at the contractual agreement and that back and forth. And I guess just a final comment, no need to respond, but given that open season for generally is once a year, that was why it was the question of 6 months and would they need to reapply and how that would work if they even could, and those kinds of things with the construct of the agreement within the contract. So, but thank you very much for your answer. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And at this point, I'm going to now open up to the public speakers. And the first person on the agenda is Jordan D'Angelo. Jordan D'Angelo, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, and members of the committee. My name is Jordan D'Angelo. I'm a personal care attendant living and working in Winsted. I care for my mother. I'm speaking today in support of HR 16 and SR 17. Caring for others has always been a part of my life. As a teenager, I cared for my grandmother. And so when it became obvious that my mother would benefit from personal care attendant, I stepped in. I enjoy caring for my mom. It makes me happy to know that I'm able to allow her to continue living in her home and do so comfortably. And in my last job as a PCA, I cared for 3 consumers who all lived in the same house. Home care workers in our state are professional caregivers. The work we do allows people to receive critical care while remaining in their own homes. We don't just clean their homes or help them get in and out of bed. We help them socialize and continue to do the things that they love. We care about our consumers. They're human beings and deserve to live normal lives like everyone else. This contract begins to recognize the work that we do by raising wages, giving us health insurance stipend, and paid sick days. For the first time in my adult life, I will actually be able to afford health insurance. I was born with a heart arrhythmia, which means that my heart will skip beats occasionally. When I was 23, I suffered a heart attack and had to be taken to the hospital by ambulance. The ambulance ride alone was $1,000, and I'm still paying it off to this day. Additionally, the doctor at the hospital urged me to see a cardiologist, but I didn't because I knew I couldn't afford it. Even routine preventative measures were out of the question for me. Now, for the first time, I have the ability to go to the doctor again without having to feel like I can't pay for the care that I need. Both PCAs and the consumers we care for deserve your support for this contract. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? If not, thank you and have a great day. Next, we have Terrell Williams. Terrell Williams.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to say thank you all for taking the time to hear us out. My name is Terrell Williams. I'm a PCA. I generally work in the New Haven, West Haven, Hamden area. I've gone as far as Bridgeport, and I've been doing this work for over 12 years. I started doing this because my mother, who passed away 3 years ago, she actually fell ill and got on the program. And, so I started caring for her, and instantly doing this type of work, I fell in love with it. This is not the type of job that when I wake up on Monday, I'm like, oh no, I got to go to work. It's actually something I look forward to doing. I believe that it's noble work, caring for another person, helping to enrich the quality of their life. And I believe that in us doing that work, that we should also be able to take care of ourselves. I fall into a certain situation where I have 3 consumers currently, and I work upwards of 50, 60 hours a week. And so that puts me over the limit for the Husky insurance. And for me to get insurance from the market, at least $300-400 a month it would cost me. And that's really not feasible at this point. I'm just barely covering the basic cost of living. So these bills would basically be the first time ever for us home care workers where we would be able to manage our healthcare sufficiently. Me specifically, I'm diabetic. Actually, a short while ago, I was so bad that I lost my sight for about a month because I couldn't afford insulin. And it took about a month and a half actually before my sight came back once I was back on the insulin. But currently, the insurance that I was on, it ended the 31st of last month. And I was just trying to get my prescriptions filled, hoping that it would still cover it, and it didn't. So it puts me right back in that situation where between a rock and a hard place, I don't really know what I'm going to do going forward. But in order for me to take care of the people who I care for, I need to be able to take care of myself. So I urge you to please pass these bills. And again, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. And I have one more, David Palumbo, but I don't think he has come on. Madam Administrator, did he sign in?
No, Madam Chair, he did not.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to thank everybody for your testimony. And just to say, I used PCAs with both my parents as they were going to the end of life. And the one thing I have to say was that the value to their end of life was wonderful. The ability to have them and keep them at home, I think was a way of peace and solace. So I think the other part that we need to applaud right now is the fact that we took a new industry that we started here in Connecticut, and we started building building up on something to provide better quality of life for all. And I don't know if I heard any discussion, but I think we should study the fact that by keeping people at home, the cost of living for supporting their lives is at a better managed level. So I thank everybody. Representative Valinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to be very, very brief. I want to just say thank you to the caregivers that, came before us just now to testify. In my family situation, I was a caregiver balancing work and caring for 3 elderly parents for 10 years. I know it's not an easy job, and I know it requires a whole heck of a lot of love. So what you do is tremendously important, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. At this time, I conclude the public hearing for appropriations for the House and Senate resolutions. And what I'm going to tell everybody, we're going to take a 15-minute recess. And at that time, I believe the Republicans are going to have a conference. Does everybody have the number to dial in, Representative France?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so it's 10:18, so can we reconvene by 10:35? Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll see if we are convening this committee, and we will reconvene at 10:35. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to reconvene the Appropriations Committee meeting. Senator Austin?
Ready to take a vote, Madam Chair.
Great. We have two resolutions, one Senate Resolution number 14 and House Resolution number 16. Resolution proposing approval of memorandum of agreement between PCA Workforce Council and the New England Healthcare Employees Union District 1199 SEIU. Senator Minor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as a point of clarification, if you could remind me where in the budget these dollars exist and how are they funded? Are they ARPA dollars carry forward or a general line item, please?
Senator Austin.
We had them as a direct line item for $23 million. They are in the budget now between the different agencies that they're relative to, whether it's DDS or DMIS or DSS, and they are general fund dollars.
Thank you for that response. And like some of my other comments at meetings past, I think that sends a very definite message, a clear tone with regard to our level of support for these individuals should this pass. And certainly that would be the most, I would say, appropriate way to show that this is not just a one-time deal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other general questions about the two items that are before us? If not, Senator Austin, would you like to?
I will take a motion from the Senate members to move the Senate Joint Resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Minor, seconded by Senator Winfield. Is there any discussion? If not, Madam Administrator, if you could take the vote from the Senate, please.
Senator Austin.
Senator Austin votes in the affirmative.
Senator Hartley.
Senator Hartley in the affirmative.
Senator Minor.
Senator Minor, yes.
Senator Doherty Abrams. Senator Anwar. Senator Ciccarella. Senator Flexer. Senator Kushner. Senator Lesser. Senator Lopes.
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Senator McCrory. Senator Summers. And Senator Winfield.
Senator Winfield in the affirmative.
Are there any Senate members who have not yet voted who would like to cast their vote?
Madam Administrator, do you know how late we're going to leave the votes open? 11, 11:15? Which one is it?
I either 11 or 11:15, whatever your preference is. But I'm assuming the Senate is not going in at 11.
No,
we were here till midnight last night, so I think some of my colleagues are just getting up here. So,
So we could do 11.
11.
We could do 11:15, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'll let
May I have a motion for our report? And
Representative Dathan, second.
Nolan.
I only needed two. It's moved by Representative Porter and seconded by Representative Dathan. Any discussions? If not, Madam Administrator, please call the roll.
Representative Walker.
Representative Walker votes in the affirmative.
Representative Dathan.
Representative Dathan votes yes.
Representative Nolan.
Good morning. Representative Nolan votes in the affirmative.
Representative France.
Representative France votes yes.
Representative Abercrombie. Representative Baker.
Representative Baker votes yes.
Representative Betts. Representative Belinsky.
Representative Berlinski in the affirmative.
Representative Candelaria.
Representative Candelaria, say yes.
Representative Curry.
Representative Curry votes yes.
Representative Delaney.
Representative Delaney in the affirmative.
Representative Dillon. Representative Felipe. Representative Ferraro.
Representative Ferraro votes yes.
Representative Gibson. Representative Gilchrist.
Representative Gilchrist votes yes.
Representative Gonzalez.
Representative Gonzalez vote yes.
Representative Haddad.
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Representative Carol Hall.
Representative Carol Hall votes yes.
Representative Joshua Hall. Representative Harrison.
Representative Harrison votes yes.
Representative Hayes. Representative Howard.
Rep. Howard votes yes.
Representative Johnson.
Representative Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy.
Kennedy votes yes.
Representative Luxembourg. Representative McCarty.
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Representative Paris. Representative Pavlik D'Amato.
Pavlik D'Amato votes no.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Representative Reyes.
Representative Reyes votes in the affirmative.
Representative Rosario. Representative Ryan. Representative Sanchez.
Rep. Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Sims.
Representative Sims votes in the affirmative.
Representative Terciak.
Representative Terciak votes yes.
Representative Wilson.
Representative Wilson votes yes.
Representative Zawistowski.
Representative Zawistowski votes yes.
Are there any House members who would like to cast their vote at this time?
Madam Administrator, I think Corey Paris is probably going to be calling in. I think he lost the link, but he'll be calling in.
Okay. I did see Senator Flexer on the Senate resolution. Senator Flexer, are you with us? Thought I saw her come in. Senator Kushner?
Saw her.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, at this time, we will keep the votes open for the House and the Senate resolution until 11:15. And Madam Administrator, is there anything that we have on docket this week besides the normal stuff?
Well, we will be having a committee meeting either tomorrow or Friday on floor referrals.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Thank you. And anybody listening, Representative Curry, we don't need any more referrals. We've given Ed the job, okay?
Never say never, Madam Chair.
We've given Ed the job. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, and have a great day. And this committee meeting will be in recess until 11:15. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Administrator,
Yes, Representative Felipe, good morning.
I missed one, right?
You did, sir.
Representative Felipe votes yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Administrator,
Representative Rosario,
I believe I missed one.
good morning.
Good morning.
How would you like to vote on House Resolution number 16, sir?
In the affirmative.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Senator Cicarella. How are you?
Good. And yourself?
I am fine, thank you. How would you like to vote on Senate Resolution 14?
I would like to vote yes.
Thank you, sir. You're all set.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, too. Representative Ryan, good morning.
Good morning.
How would you like to vote, sir?
I would like to vote in the affirmative, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Senator Anwar. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Sorry
thank
for
you.
being a little late.
That's okay. How would you like to vote on Senate Resolution 14?
Senator Anwar votes yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
I'm good.
You're good.
Thank you.
Hi, Senator Summers.
Hi, how are you? I'm here to vote yes.
Hey, gotcha. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Representative Hall,
How you doing?
how would you like to vote on House Resolution 16?
That'll be yes.
Thank you, sir. You're all set.
All right, thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Oh, hello, Representative Luxembourg.
Good morning, Madam Administrator.
How are you?
Happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. How would you like to vote on House Resolution 16?
Representative Luxembourg votes yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Hey, Representative Hayes, how are you?
Madam Administrator?
I got Representative Hayes first, Senator Lesser. Okay, hold on just a moment.
Absolutely.
I'm here.
Hi there. How would you like to vote on House Resolution 16, sir?
I'd like to vote yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, Representative Lesser, your turn.
I don't see a Representative Lesser in the Zoom.
I'm sorry, stop it, not Senator Lesser, I'm sorry.
I'm just messing with you, Sue. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So how would you like to vote on Senate Resolution 14?
Senator Lesser in the affirmative.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And that's it, right?
That's it, you're done. Representative Bat.
Hey, thank you, Susan. I got through. I'm going to vote no.
I need to see you though, sir.
Okay. There we
There
are.
you are, okay,
Okay, so that's a no on the bill.
got it.
Okay, thanks so much, Susan. Have a
You're
good one.
welcome. Representative Dillon, I know you're trying hard. I know I still don't have your audio. Don't have your audio yet. Can't hear you. Unfortunately, I need to hear you. Senator Flexer,
Hello.
good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How would you like to vote on Senate Resolution 14?
Senator Flexer would like to vote yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Representative Dillon, hooray.
Hi, Representative Dillon votes yes.
Thank you, ma'am. You're all set. God love you for hanging in there and getting through.
Well, I want to thank the staff at the Dunkin' Donuts on the road for helping to reach you.
Yay for them.
I'm logging off now.
Okay. Tell them we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, Representative Gibson.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can, so cast your vote, sir. I would like to vote on House Resolution 16.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
House
Can you hear me?
Resolution. Yes, House Resolution 16.
Rep Gibson votes yes.
Thank you, sir. You're all set.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, have a good day.
You too.
Susan,
Yes, Ben.
Representative Betts was having trouble trying to get it back onto the meeting, and
He came on, Ben, or he's all set.
he called earlier to say that he wanted to change his vote to a no.
He's all set, Ben.
All right, thank you.
He came on. Thank you. It's now 11:15, and so we are signing off.